Welcome to the Empowered Project. Today I'm going to get a little controversial and I'm going to teach through my experiences. I'm going to point at the truth and it's probably going to challenge you. It might even offend you, but my hope is that it forces you when you hear it to look at yourself. The question I have is, what are you hiding from? We all have hidden places in our lives, and we all look for ways to escape our missteps, our deficiencies, and our mistakes. Many times when we dwell on these things, we are looking for ways to distract our minds from interacting with those difficult thoughts. My distraction of choice was alcohol. I would often remember the things I'd done or the things I'd seen, and they would haunt me. But they'd always haunt me when I was busy doing nothing. Incidentally, busy doing nothing doesn't necessarily mean alone. My personal belief that this is a tactic of Satan, but you can call it whatever you want to. Either way, I'd drink until I couldn't function, I'd stagger off to bed, and I'd pass out. Guess what? All the things I was trying to hide from were still there the next day. Now, let's talk about neuroplasticity of the brain. And this may feel like a hard left turn, but stick with me, okay? Neuroplasticity is kind of like the law of attraction, but a lot more sciencey. Neuroplasticity is when the brain chemistry is changed through thoughts. The brain produces a certain chemical cocktail that produces feelings based on an outside stimulus. In the absence of an external stimulus, the brain uses memories. Some feelings make us feel elated or happy. Things like when we ace a test, or we laugh with friends, or we hit a home run. Other feelings make us feel sad, and that's the feeling we get when we fail a test or disappoint someone or strike out. Got it? Now check this part out. If we have a really negative life experience and dwell in that negative moment over and over again with our thoughts, we will begin to get overdosed on the sad chemical cocktail, and this is called depression. It's a downward spiral because we begin to see everything in life through sad chemistry, but we begin to see everything around us as negative, and the further it goes, the worse it gets. Sometimes we begin to think that the world would be better off without us because of how negative everything around us has seemed to become. Incidentally, this is not true. The world would be better with you contributing your unique gifts that you can't see because you've been in the darkness for so long. No one else can quite do what you're able to do, even if you can't see it yet. And here's the hard-hitting truth. You need to shake yourself out of it. You are worth something to someone in some way that you have yet to express, and you need to change. One day I drank an entire bottle of Maker's Mark 46, sitting on the edge of my bed. I was alone. I was thinking about the shitty stuff I'd done and I'd seen. And I was thinking about how miserable I felt. I was thinking about how I wasn't sleeping through the night. I was thinking about the death of my dad. I was thinking about all the bad things. And I decided that the world would be better off without my sorry ass in it. So I picked up my Glock 27 from the nightstand and I sat on the edge of my bed. And as I sat there, I imagined how I would look after I shot myself in the head through my mouth. I imagined the blood spatter. I imagined the pooling that would be all over the bed. Is that too graphic? Too bad. Keep listening. I imagined how Heather would react, but I was in such a dark place that I thought it wouldn't matter to her. And then I heard a whisper in my mind, and it was the voice of my only daughter at the time. I had a recording of it on my phone for years that I would play from time to time. What she said is mine. It's mine forever. None of you can have it. And I won't even tell you because it's just for me. But with her little voice and her broken words, I took my finger off the trigger and I put the gun on the nightstand. And now, according to all things medicine, I'm an addict. I'm depressed and I'm suicidal. I'd spent the better part of 2 years putting 750 milliliters of Maker's Mark down at least every other night. But right then, I decided I was not an addict to alcohol any longer. Now, did I go through withdrawals? Yeah. Did I sweat like a madman, shaking, etc.? Yeah. However, I was no longer an addict, and every time my mind would tell me I needed a drink, I would remember the little voice of Eden speaking to me. Her voice would make me smile, and no matter the circumstance, I had something positive. I decided I was no longer depressed. And the suicidal, the more I practiced it, pushing those thoughts out, the negative thoughts and the negative emotions, telling myself that those things were lies, and replacing them with positive things, even the smallest of positive things, the better I seemed to get at it. It was as if my mind was rewiring itself, neuroplasticity. I was changing my brain chemistry. Then bam, then I got shot. Man, you talk about emotional swings. I had to start over and I had to get help. Just for your information, there is nothing wrong with getting a little help in dealing with your mess. your past, your darkness, your thoughts. But here's the key. Are you paying attention? You have to deal with it. Staying alone and being alone in it doesn't help. It makes it worse. Now, the story of getting shot is a whole different story, and it's taken much longer to address the problems from that. And what I thought was bad before, but listen, that's a different story for a different time. Okay, fast forward to today. Now here I am, around 9 years later. I'm remembering it all with a different perspective and a lot more experience at life under my belt. My current counselor asked me the following question series about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And he said, Jonathan, are you a Christian? And I said, yes, sir. He said this to me. He said, then why are you choosing to believe something that is not true? He went on to describe a book where a man named Paul writes, take captive your thoughts and make them submit to Christ. Paul was writing this to explain that with the help of the Holy Spirit, we are able to choose our thoughts. We are able to take them captive, to squeeze them and weigh them against the absolute truth that is the teachings of the Bible. If the thought yields truth when squeezed, then we keep it and we make appropriate adjustments. If the thought yields lies when we squeeze it, then we discard it as worthless. Now, can this be done outside of religion, spirituality, outside of Christ? Probably to some extent. And I would encourage you, listen, if you're not a Christian, then try. But personally, I don't think I'm strong enough to capture and weigh things without the help of Jesus. But maybe you're better than me. That's cool. Years later, I've come to this conclusion that I'm no longer going to hide from the parts of me that roam around in darkness. I'm not going to use the word addict to describe myself because I'm not an addict. I'm not a recovering addict because I've chosen to face the things that I want to hide from within myself. Here's who I am. I am a man with a story that at one point I chose to believe the lies. The addiction for me was a lie in my mind. It's a lie in some of your minds. And I used that as an excuse to justify my behavior. Food addict, drug addict, porn addict, alcohol addict, whatever your dysfunction, you are able to change your brain chemistry. You're able to capture your thoughts and change them. Is it tough? Sure. Choose a better way. It might rock the boat and I'm okay with it. Remember that you are always in control of your thoughts at some level. Find the positive in people, even when you don't know if you can. Find the positive in yourself. Sometimes it's just a tiny little voice. Sometimes it's that tiny little positivity, even when you don't know that you can. Hold fast to the captured thought that yields truth and throw out the lies. You are worth the effort. We are worth the effort. Stop hiding.